right, so why are we here? I'm here with my buddy Jeff Petty. My 40th birthday is in about 12 hours, and my wife was like, what do you want to do for your birthday? I'm like, well, I'd really like to shoot a podcast talking to my buddy about heavy metal.
Absolutely.
So total self-indulgence.
Yes.
You and I have been talking about this for probably a year.
Yeah, close to it.
Because you're like, even when we first sat down our first episode,
That's
when we
right.
talked about insurance,
That's right.
we're like, we should do a metal
We had
episode.
a little metal talk in there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
So now we're actually going to lean all in. So I'm here with Jeff Petty.
Yep.
We're talking about heavy metal. So if anybody is expecting anything other than heavy metal today, go ahead and tune out right now. Yeah, turn it off.
Next channel.
So Jeff, real quick, how do we know each other? Introduce yourself and
Met
quick
through
background.
work, right? I think we just figured out right before we were trying to figure out the timeline. 5 years.
5 years.
5,
Yep,
6
5
years.
years.
I think it feels longer, but I don't know. It's just because that I don't know the bond or whatever. But yeah, so work together, and then I don't even know how we came up to talking about that we both like metal.
Well, I think I actually remember. So I think it was Henry Santos at Amwins.
Yep.
I forgot how we got on the subject of a band or metal or something. And he's like, Jeff Petty likes metal. And I'm like, oh, the guy from Pace? He's like, yeah. And so I think when we were working on a case or something.
And then it came up.
And I was like, you like metal, right? And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And then that was how we broke the ice as like friends,
Well, and then it always becomes the thing like, okay, like as we've talked about, like there's a lot, metal's broad.
Yes.
Right? So like you can talk to some people and they think like Poison is metal.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Or they think like a really like hard Bon Jovi song is metal. You're like, and you're like,
yeah.
You're like, your definition of metal is not my definition.
Yeah,
of
it's a little too broad, which is why there's 18,000 subgenres of metal. But like that, you also have to do that test, like you're saying. It's like you like metal, okay, cool. Like, what are you into?
Throw out the bands.
Yeah, throw out like top 3 bands, and they're like, oh, you like the mainstream metal, right, or whatever. Like you don't like metal.
Yeah,
you like radio metal. Right?
Radio metal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like Tool's a great example.
Yes.
Like every metalhead loves Tool. I don't know any guy that likes metal that doesn't like Tool. Like, and you could like prog, you could like thrash, you could like metalcore, you can like you like Tool.
Yeah.
But if you talk to people who go, oh, I like Tool too. Great. Well, what song do you like? Prison Sex.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one that was on the radio like 8,000 times.
Sober.
Like is basically Back in Black.
Yeah. Their AC/DC song. Yeah.
That's their AC/DC tune.
I mean, but you get, so that's what you funny. You go, okay, cool. At least you like that song.
Absolutely.
Like we can cross over there, but
it's like a gateway drug.
What we say is metal, and I don't want to be like a metal snob because our genre has way too much of that.
Absolutely.
But it's like there are 300 layers of heaviness beyond that, where you find whatever your set point is, where you can't get beyond it.
That's right.
But there's a lot more beyond Tool.
That's right.
So real quick, I want to ask you. We were preparing for this. I sent you some questions, and then we were talking about what shirt are you going to wear? What shirt are you? So you went with the down.
I went with
shirt.
the down shirt.
Yeah. So why don't you decide? Yeah. Tell me real quick why you picked it.
All right, so down, if for people that don't know,
go and describe
right? I got to
Down
like
is.
explain it a little bit.
Yeah.
So the singer is Phil Anselmo. Phil Anselmo was the singer of Pantera. Pantera is probably my favorite band of all time. Just bone crushing. Love Phil's voice, the whole thing, right? R.I.P. Dime. But so he had an offshoot band called Down. Mm-hmm. I've seen Down live a few times. Like they sound way better live than the live album they put out, which we won't even discuss. Yeah. But so today when I was going through shirts, right, I like, and we talked about it. Like,
what shirts do you have to choose from? That because I only have a
ton.
couple. Okay, you have way more than I do.
So I've got Maiden, Sabbath, Tool, this one, Alice in Chains, Deftones. I have a Black Label shirt that's so obnoxious I can't wear it anywhere.
Okay, fair
It's
enough.
got like fire down the sleeves. It's long sleeve. I went long sleeve on that one.
What is it with the metal and the long sleeves? They're so ridiculous.
It was a poor decision.
Yeah.
So I have that shirt. I can't wear it anywhere.
Yeah.
Every Time I Die. I have 2 Every Time I Die shirts. I've got.
You have much more extensive selection.
Couple Metallica shirts. Oh no, my wife. It's a running joke in our house. So a lot of times when I come home from work, I throw on a concert tee.
Do you really?
That's what I wear at home.
That's funny.
And so there's certain shirts that like I have a Hatebreed shirt.
Yeah.
But like if you don't know who Hatebreed is, you just think I might have mental problems.
Well, everything's got fire on it, flames,
got
right?
Fire. No, and here's the thing, right? Like, and we've talked about this. We both work in insurance.
Yeah.
Like the most conservative,
totally
boring, like in theory.
In
right?
theory, yeah.
In theory. Now it's not boring, but I mean just to the outside world.
Yeah.
So it's really funny Like whenever you tell people like, yeah, I'm super into metal, because they're like, well, that just doesn't match.
Does not compute
With
right?
what I'm doing. But so I have to be very judicious even at home with that of like, okay, I gotta my family knows I like weird music, but I can't always just wear the like weird shirts. So like this is like a nice,
yeah, it's actually pretty
basic.
As far as metal shirts go, it's pretty benign. Like,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
I was looking for metal shirts recently. You know, I bought that Knocked Loose shirt not too long ago.
Yep.
And I own two metal shirts. I might have a Tool concert tee somewhere. But I have this one that I chose, which
I was going to say, now, why did you choose that one?
Yeah, so I was going to tell you. So Rivers of Nile, they put out an album in 2020, the Where Owls Know My Name.
Yep.
And prog death, like death metal, but progressive.
Yeah,
like
I know. You super did.
I remember even sent it to you, and like, Jeff, I don't know if you can get into this, man, but you need to try it. Yeah. But whatever, that album captivated me. It was during a period of time where I was like mowing my own lawn every Saturday.
And that's the beginning of the pandemic, too.
Beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So every Saturday, that album would play in my ears when I was mowing my lawn, and it just captivated me. I've seen them a couple times, but I either had this shirt or Knock Loose, and I've been wearing out the Knock Loose at the gym. So I'm like, let's bring out the Rivers of Nile. But my 2-year-old son,
Knock Loose might smell a little bit.
Yeah, it might actually smell. But I brought it out, and my son Sebastian, who's 2, he kept looking at it. He's like pointing at it. He's like, oh, and he's like, he doesn't know what to. This is a wild looking shirt.
It is a wild looking shirt.
For those of you that are just listening only, it's a anthropomorphic guy that looks like a tree, and though you can't even read the name of the band, my 2-year-old son's like, But every once in a while, I'll put on some music, and he bobs his head.
Digs it.
Yeah, he's like, it gets him. So I'm hoping that he's my metal kid.
Yeah, and I have 3 kids, and none of them like metal.
None of them at all.
No.
Okay.
Like my oldest son, who's almost 24, he'll listen to classic rock. Like he'll throw on a good like Skinner album,
like true classic rock.
Like true classic rock. Like whenever he lived at home, he's obviously out of the house now, praise the Lord. But whenever he would live at home, like he would listen to like Hendrix.
Okay.
Which was super cool for me.
Yeah.
Like because I was like, okay, Hendrix, like I mean that's Hendrix. But like whenever I try to introduce, like whenever they were little, like I would like throw on like Metallica and stuff like that, and they dug it. And then like once they became fully functioning humans, then they either went down like the hip hop trail, or they went down like the like Foo Fighters kind of like rock, but not stadium rock.
Yeah,
maybe is the best.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right? Which and I love the Foo Fighters. Love them. Seen them several times. They're fantastic. But like trying to get him to be like, dude, why don't you like try like Life of Agony?
Like, they're like, Dad, what kind of name is that? I'll talk about that in a minute. Like metal band names are the most absurd things you've ever. Like, the best and absurd simultaneously.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a campy. I mean,
there's a campy's the right way to say it, right? There's a sense of humor about it, but it's like tongue-in-cheek ridiculous.
Yes, everybody gets it, right?
I think so, but outsiders may not get it. Like,
correct.
Why are you wearing a Cradle of Filth, shirt? What does that even mean? Like things like that you just kind of like, I can't even defend it. I don't know. I'm not going to wear that shirt. But I want to get curious to hear, like, how'd you get into metal, dude? Like that's a fun story for me. What was your initial impression of heavy metal? Like, what kind of band was it? How'd you start?
So we were talking about this a little bit before, and I'm looking. We'll swap it back and forth. But I was 8-9 years old.
Okay.
Heard the song "Back in Black," AC/DC.
Good.
Just that riff, that crunch in the beginning, right? And was like, "This is great." So I had to. This is so stupid. I'm not old enough to buy a tape. I'm 8 years old, 8-9 years old, right?
I guess that's true. I
can't just go to the local Sam Goody, because we had record stores back then, right? Now they're like a fleeting business, but back then like they were legit everywhere. I wrote my dad a note and said, "Hey, can I get this AC/DC record? Keep in mind," because they would look at the tracks, and one of the tracks is Hell's Bells.
Okay.
So I thought they're never going to buy it for me because the word hell is on there. And my dad was like, "No, well, yeah, we can totally get it." Right? Yeah. So I go and buy the tape. I'm wearing this tape out.
Shout out to Dad.
Oh yeah, he was the man. So yeah, he was one of those. It was one of those like, don't tell your mom. So I've got AC/DC Back in Black, loving it. So that would have been like let's call it 81. Kind of just doing the generic rock thing. Fast forward a couple years, I had a really good friend of mine, Carlos.
Okay.
He was my best friend. His older brother so we would have been like, at that point, we're like 10, 11. His older brother is like 16, 17, and he's like, "You guys got to hear this record. You guys have to hear this record." We're like, "What is it?"
I can't wait to hear what it is.
And it's Ozzy
Okay.
And it was his first. It was Diary of a Madman. I don't know if it's Diary of a Madman or Blizzard of Oz.
So his solo stuff.
Solo
Yeah,
stuff.
okay.
And the first song on that Ozzy record is Over the Mountain.
Okay.
Which you've ever heard. It's this big
Yeah.
drum.
Yeah.
Brain. Boom.
That's what it is with metal, though,
Brain.
isn't it? Like it's funny to kind of use that terminology, but like it's like mind blowing.
I mean, I'm talking about it. I'm like getting goosebumps
Yeah,
just even
because you can
talking
remember
about
it.
it. Because I
What
can
is
remember
it
that
about?
moment.
And it's one of the things I love about metal. It's like for some reason you have these moments in time, and I'll share some of mine with you as
Oh, for
well,
sure.
where like your mind was blown, like the sound or how heavy it was or just how loud it got.
All of it.
All of it. You're just, what is this?
Well, and
Yeah.
then like and then hanging out with him, and he's like, well, if you like that,
yeah.
all right, here's Peace of Mind by Maiden. Okay, now if you like that, here's Screaming for Vengeance from Priest.
Uh-huh.
All right, if you like that, and and then around that time Pyromania came out,
Okay.
and then he's like, that's a good album, but go back.
Yeah.
Like he was total metal stuff.
This guy was, he's good.
Total
Though. That
metal
was a
stuff.
good like
Oh.
mentor for metal. Though.
Me and my buddy, like we would hang out with his older brother, and his older brother was nuts. Like he was one of these dudes. Like he ended up going to like juvie. And, I mean, he was just like he was living the life, right? And it was, but the music that he turned us on to, like that was the footprint. And all of a sudden, it was like now I've got to go. Now, so then you do what you do. You find those bands, and then you go, man, these bands are killer. And then you're talking to another guy, and you say, yeah, this band's killer. And they're like, well, you ever listen to Sabbath? Who's that?
Yeah.
Well, it's Ozzy. He used to be in this group. Sabbath. Okay, buy the, here, listen to this album. It's got Paranoid and War Pigs.
These are like threads, right? Like, like it's like,
Tentacles.
if this, it's all an algorithm. If this, then this.
If this,
and
then
if
this.
that, then this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, in the movie School of Rock where he puts the thing on the on the chalkboard and it's all the offshoots of all the different kind of genres. It's that, but just metal.
Yeah.
So then you're like, well, if you like that, and then so then you're like, okay, well, I like
It's almost like choose your own adventure. For
literally.
metal. Yeah.
Literally. All right. So what's yours?
Sorry. So mine. So let's see. I shared with you earlier, my first album was Alice in Chains' Dirt,
fantastic.
which is not quite metal, but enough of an entry point for me.
Agreed.
Prior to that, you mentioned your first tape was AC/DC. Mine was New Kids on the Block.
Nice.
Yeah, and New Kids on the Block. So I was 82 was born. That was in the 80s. But I remember I was embarrassed to having a New Kids on the Block
course.
tape. So I actually would slide it under my chest of drawers when a buddy would come over, so nobody saw that I actually had it. And I was like, what are they going to think of me if I have this?
Closet and KOTB fan.
Yeah. Hey, great. Hey, New Kids on the Block. Shout out to New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
You're doing your thing.
So Alice in Chains' Dirt, first album. But my entry point to heavy metal is actually through my dad. So your dad sort of gave you the, hey, cool.
He gave me
you
the
can
green
get-
light,
yeah.
but didn't like the music.
But dad was like, no, here
That's
is
awesome.
Cowboys from Hell from Pantera. Here is the Black Album from Metallica. Here
come on.
is White Zombie. The 19 Thunder Kiss 65.
Oh, great album.
Yeah. And
Has
so
Welcome
what,
to Planet at the
Yeah,
beginning
yeah,
of it.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that album.
Yeah, and the first portion of the song where you can't really play on the radio,
right.
and like
That's
I
right.
can't play for my kids. But that was where my dad and I would drive to soccer,
So
know,
cool.
and bonding. Like,
course.
oh, Dad, can we throw on Metallica? Yeah, like in it. So
That's
he
awesome.
was the guy that introduced. It's fun, like
Which is
having a
crazy.
dad, my metal mentor.
Yeah.
But then I picked up that mantle, if you will, and I was like, okay, well. I need my generation of metal. So we were talking about who you were about 10 years older than me, so your era was
Almost on the
thrash.
nose.
My era was new metal.
Yeah.
So my era was Korn and Limp Bizkit and White Zombie, like I mentioned,
Yep.
and Pantera. I had a Pantera sticker on my truck in high school. Yeah, it's still to this day like
Love
probably the
Pantera.
only band sticker I ever had,
Love
and I'm
Pantera.
so proud of
Yes.
proud of that sticker.
Yes.
But so that was my foray. It was a slow build, but hearing Chutes and Ladders by Korn. And a lot of people, there's this like debate in metal, is new metal really metal? Is
100% it is.
pure? I would say 100% it is.
Yeah.
But some people that didn't live in that era will go, wow, well, it was like too commercial and
Corny
mainstream.
or stupid, or they thought they were
But
rappers.
it kind of it repopularized heavy metal in the 90s.
Oh, 100%.
And it reintroduced it to a new generation.
Post-grunge.
Yeah, post-grunge. Yeah,
Yeah,
post-grunge, exactly.
post-grunge, yeah.
And that was when we talked about mind-blowing experiences. There were two. The first time I heard Chutes and Ladders, and then Deftones Bored.
Oh.
So when I heard Bored on the radio, I heard it mid-song. And for those of you that are listening that are under like 40, you had to used to listen to radio, and you had to just listen to the radio.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, then you would wait for this 2-hour circulation of songs to play and come back through.
Yep.
And so I had to sit there with a tape on my boombox.
Totally get it.
with it ready to go,
Totally get it.
ready to hit record, because I didn't even know what the band was. I just knew there was a sound I was looking
Just a
for.
really cool tune you wanted
And
to
that
do.
lady on the Eagle, like 97.1 or
Nice.
whatever her name was,
Yeah.
I heard it go, all right, and up next we've got Bored by the Deftones.
Click.
I wonder if that's it. And like, boom, click, it was it. And I tell you, that was when
that's great.
your heart,
in your
like
chest.
your soul is
In your
captured
chest.
by a song. Bored by Deftones just literally changed my like musical taste.
Oh,
forever.
100%.
So like I look back at it and I look at that age range, probably 10 to 14, the most impressionable time of your life. Some of the passion that I had for the music in that time, like to this day, I still know where I was, what I felt, how old I was, what I was doing, my friends.
And it was the same window for me.
Yeah, but I think everybody, it's just you're in a different generation or a different decade,
Well,
but
you're
you
starting
had
to
the
grow
same
up,
age
right?
range.
You're starting to grow up. You're starting to get away from what your parents.
Yep.
Like you're becoming you.
Yep.
Right.
You know, I became me with Korn and Deftones and Limp Bizkit and stuff like that.
And mine was Maiden, Priest, and Ozzy, and that first gen. You know, the new wave of British heavy metal.
Okay.
So and it's really funny. And then the other part about metal, right, is it's counterculture.
True.
Right?
Totally.
Like it's cool. Like you feel like you kind of know the handshake whenever you talk to somebody and say like, oh, you dig metal? Like what bands do you dig? And then like they throw out a couple bands, you throw out a couple bands. It's almost like you're like, okay, give me the, like, like
secret,
we know the secret handshake.
Yeah.
But part of that is the counterculture thing. Like I can remember when Motley Crue Shout at the Devil came out. I'm in 6th grade. Okay. Yeah. Me and my buddies are really into metal music. And around that time, it's funny you talk about genesis of a person. When I first started listening to hard rock music, I played the violin.
Really? I didn't know that.
I played through elementary school and was actually a decent violin player.
Okay.
But I was like, violin's cool, but you know what's cooler? A guitar. So I started playing guitar. And so my love of metal then became a different thing because then I wanted to learn how to play it. So I could sit in my room and like play Black and Black.
Yeah.
Back in Black.
Back
in Black.
Yeah.
So Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil comes out. If you've listened to that album, the song Shout at the Devil, it's like great, and it's got the little hi-hat thing with Tommy Lee. All I want is that tape. But I know there is no way I'm going to be able to buy it because the album's called Shout at the Devil. And I was raised in a really conservative home, really strong Christian family. I and I'm not saying I wasn't, but I liked this music.
Yeah.
But it felt very like, I was like, ooh, I'm listening to this.
It felt a little like devious, right? Yeah.
So I get the Shout at the Devil tape for my birthday from a friend.
Okay.
My mom is like, you cannot have that in this house. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So back then, you talk about recording things off the radio. That was around the time I had a double tape player.
I already know where you're going with this.
So I had buddies give me all their tapes, and I would record them onto the blank Maxells, and I would just put initials. Like
smart.
JP, Judas Priest, I Am, Iron Maiden, MC, Motley Crue.
Brilliant.
And they were 45 minutes aside, right? So you could put 2 records. Or 2 albums or 2 CDs or whatever, tapes at the time. So that was my way around it. But I felt so cool that I was listening to all this music. I'm like, nobody knew. Like, I was like, I'm getting away with it. I'm, all my 12, 13-year-old machismo, right? I'm like, oh, I'm totally listening. And I'd have on headphones. My mom would be like, oh, what are you listening to? I'm like, nothing.
Nothing,
New Kids on the Block. No.
New Kids on the Block, Mom.
Predated, but but there's that vibe to it, too.
Well, I totally agree, right? There's something a little bit subversive, a little bit counterculture.
Yeah.
And you mentioned growing up
risky.
A little risky, yeah. But I think that appeals to that 13-year-old male that's going through puberty and
100%.
This rite of passage, right?
100%.
But also, I always viewed it, and you and I talk about this. It's kind of an outlet for stress and anxiety and angst and all those things.
Up to today, up to and
like
including
still
today.
To this day, I'm still it's my outlet, but it's like a pressure valve release, if you will.
100%.
So I combine that with working out. And it's like this exertion, but it's like this whatever internally and subconsciously is going on. You're worried about the day or work or whatever.
Yep.
Boom, just blow it all off.
Goes
and then
away.
it keeps you from like having worse, I would say, vices or outlets for 100%. That sort of stuff.
Well, and it keeps you from it's the old joke, right? Like you go to work and you come home and they say, you kicked the dog and the dog didn't do anything. You're just mad because you had a bad day. If I come home and work out and throw on Knocked Loose and work out for 30 minutes, once I come out of there, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm leveled out.
That's literally the whole point. It's like, I don't, there's the kind of appeal towards like darkness, and there's, like you mentioned, Shout at the Devil. There's always some motifs.
There's always, yes.
And it's some of it is just literally doing it because it's like trying to be cool. But I never looked at metal like that. I never really cared about the lyrics too
neither.
much. I never cared about any of those evil motifs. It's like, no, it's just music and sound, and I like it.
How do I feel?
How do I feel? Yeah. And for me, it has always been that thing where they're, you know, like Jung talks about the shadow, right? This has always been that thing that lets the shadow sort of have its play and exercise, but then keeps me healthy and on track.
Absolutely.
And a good person.
Right.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
I mean, there's a great, I think you turned me on to him. There's a guy on Instagram that does the metal thing. He's the guy with the beard.
Yeah, yeah.
And he always does where he's in the car and he's listening to like this crazy music and he gets out and he's normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that, I mean, that's totally me. I mean, I'm driving up here today. I'm listening to Down. I had on the Down shirt. I was like, all right. So I got it cranked to 11 in the car and I'm singing along and the whole thing, right? And then I get to a parking lot and I get out of the car and then I'm, hey, ma'am.
Hey,
sir.
how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
So today I was driving in, listening to Kubla Khan and Boundaries with this window down in the Mustang, and then I roll up, turn it off, hop out, and I'm like, okay, let's go.
But it's really funny. Like I mean, I know, and we're doing a podcast on it because we both love it. Like I love like being at like walking through the airport. And you got your AirPods in, and you're listening to Kubla Khan, or you're listening to Knock Loose, or you're listening to Every Time I Die, or you're listening to Pantera, and you're like, everybody here just thinks I'm this normal dude.
You're just smiling,
chilling. Hi, how are you? Yeah, I need a burrito from Chipotle. Okay, get it. I mean, well, it's like the music in my head is like.
Well, it's so funny though. Like if those people actually heard that music, they would be so terrified.
100%. I mean?
Like
100%.
Like I think about that sometimes. Like if they knew what I was listening to right now, they'd go, "That guy is a killer. He's a serial killer."
Well, it's the Office joke, right? Whenever Dwight's doing the one thing, and they go, and he can't relate to women, and they go, "Does anybody have any questions?" And the lady goes, "Yeah, I have a question. How many people have you killed? Have you killed anyone today? And are you going to kill me?"
Yeah.
And that's how it, like, because some of this music, I mean, and I'm with you, like all the imagery, like whether, like Slayer is the perfect example.
Yeah. Yep.
I love Slayer. Thrash, one of the big four, right? I went and saw Slayer back in, this would have been like 91.
Okay.
It was after Seasons in the Abyss came out.
Yeah.
Which is like, as far as I'm concerned, it's a top 10.
Is that the one Raining Blood's on?
No, this is like a couple after that.
Okay.
This is the one that has War Ensemble.
Okay.
Which is bone crushing. Like I just love. I go to see Slayer. Me and my buddy go see Slayer. We're at some club in Dallas. I was going to Baylor at the time. We drove up. We catch 2 tickets, scalps, because that's what we used to do. We used to just drive up to Dallas. We knew the show would be there, and we'd catch scalps. We'd go out in front and, all right, you got 2 tickets. Dude, you're not getting rid of those because the show's starting in 5 minutes. Can I get it for $5 above the cost, right?
Yeah.
So it's $25, $30 to get tickets. We go to the show, and Testament's opening up for Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm in.
Yeah.
I love Testament.
Yeah.
I love Slayer. It's the first time I've seen either one of them. Testament comes out. They put on a great show, right? Like it's just on, like the whole thing. Slayer comes out. They have a barricade in front of the stage. Mm-hmm. People break the barricade. I mean, like one song in. They have to stop the show to rebuild the barricade. And
That's hilarious.
And Tom Araya, who's the singer of Slayer, comes out and he's like, like normal voice, right? He's like, "Hey guys, cool out. Like, like we're here to have a good time. We're here to have a good time." And then the next, like 30 minutes later, he's screaming "Rain and Blood."
Yeah.
Like, and that's whenever I realized, I'm like, okay, that's the imagery they want to convey.
Yeah.
But it's the attitude that comes with it that is what I like.
Well, I agree with you. And I was on a podcast or doing a podcast not too long ago, and I was telling the guy, he was like talking about why, it was Luke, my neighbor, and he was talking about why when he started switching to doing a YouTube gaming channel where his face was on the show rather than just his voice while he was gaming, he got a little more popular. I'm like, I think why, and this is kind of your point, I think why is when you actually see a band perform the music, that all you've heard, you hear it at first, you're like, how do humans make those noises, right? Yes. Then you see the guy on stage, and he's just this normal looking guy. Yeah, he's probably got some tats or whatever, black shirts, but you see him and you go, oh, that's just a dude. That's just a dude making that sound. And then you go, oh, I can connect with that a little bit,
100%.
like a little bit easier. It's fun, though, when you hear them talk, too. And they're just literally normal guys, kind of nerdy.
It's a little nerdy.
Like, there's this band I like called Archspire, which I think I've sent to you. They're like super, super technical death metal, like crazy.
Okay.
And this guy has a YouTube channel, and he's like the nerdiest, like kind of emo-looking guy, and he's just, oh, hey, I was just talking like this, but like that guy plays the sickest, like insane,
he's
like
riffing
riffs.
out.
Yeah. So like, there's something about about the humanity underneath it that when you
Oh,
realize it's
absolutely.
just people, right? And
That's right.
They're just kind of playing into. It's just like somebody that makes a horror film. Like
Right.
they're not a psychopath. They're just making a horror film
just
because
making a
there's a
horror film.
genre and people
Yeah.
enjoy watching.
I know there was a great quote from speaking of Slayer. They have an album, and the album is called "God Hates Us All," and you're just like, ooh, that's kind of rough.
Yeah.
And there's a song on there called "Disciple," which
That's like when you tell friends what album you're like, go.
yeah. Like yeah. And there's a documentary where he's talking about it. Like it was about metal doc. I think it was one of those Sam Roth, the history of metal documentary. And they're interviewing Tom Araya, and they go, well, are you into all this stuff? And he goes, no. He goes, but it makes for a great album title, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, because they're trying to grab you by that, because that's the music.
There's something about that shock value. Manson made a career out of shock value.
Absolutely.
Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Like there's something about the shock value where it sort of just jolts people a little bit, and they go, I want to see, what is that? Like I'm scared of it, but I want to know what it is.
And even like a Marilyn Manson, like Antichrist Superstar, great album, metal album.
Yeah.
Like that's a metal. Beautiful People is a metal song.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's screamy. Now he's a freak show.
Yes.
Right, and
yes,
obviously, as they've borne out here over the last couple of years, he's way worse than any of us even recognize.
Like he's like a guy that I want to distance myself from.
But there for a while, I was a huge Marilyn Manson fan because
Totally.
I was like, that guy's metal. Like he's hardcore. Like and the lyrics were great and the imagery and all that stuff. But I'm like you. I can disconnect from.
Well, it's to separate the art from the artist, right? Like, and that's
a great. Yeah.
Like, I like the art.
Yes.
Some of these people probably wouldn't want to have anything to do with ever. Wouldn't ever want to have any association with. But like the art, what they're trying to do, I connect with, and I like it. And I'll listen to your album.
Yep.
I might buy it. Back in the day when you had to pay for music.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. I love this story. I want to talk to you about this. So we were talking about early entrance into metal, and you were talking about Sam Goody. CD Warehouse was my jam.
Oh,
back
absolutely.
in the day.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You used to have. So I was 16 years old. I used to go on Saturday mornings, drive myself from Mansfield to Arlington, Texas, about a 20-minute drive down Cooper Street.
Nice.
And I would go to CD Warehouse because that was the closest CD Warehouse. So anybody that's younger than us. New release Tuesday.
New release Tuesday.
But I would go on Saturdays, and CD Warehouse was like you could buy new and used CDs. So I would go, and here's the old algorithm for metal. You know how Spotify today will go, oh, you like Knock Loose? Here's Kublai, right?
Yep.
Back in the day, you'd go, oh, I like Korn. Let me flip through their album booklet, their CD booklet. Korn thanks Power Man 5000.
Ooh, nice.
I'm like,
I never even thought about that.
So that was my way. So
Great
the
call.
like music, the magazines back in the day, you would get like Metal Edge or whatever.
Kerrang and all those.
Kerrang.
Yeah, for sure. Circus.
Or you go to CD Warehouse and go, all right, well, who did my favorite band thank? And let me go look up those albums. And
That's a
CD
good call.
Warehouse
I
would
never
let
thought
you
about
listen
that.
to
I
the
never
used.
thought about that.
That was my algorithm back
That's
in
a
the day.
jam right there.
Yeah, and so I would go, all right, well, let's get these 10 bands. I will sit at that little thing where like the headphones that were never probably cleaned. You're like, listen, you're putting on other people's sweat and earwax.
It's like trying on hats in the store.
And then you go, that sucks. Oh. And then that's how you'd pick up
100%.
new music. And I'd go, oh, well, I only have to pay $7 because it's a used CD. You'd open it and go, that's not too scratched.
Not too
okay,
scratched.
cool.
Yeah.
Bye,
100%.
And so my Saturday mornings would sort of be like demarcated by, I found 3 new albums to now listen to.
That's awesome. I never even thought about that.
I love that. And
I never thought about that.
That was like, I knew also at that time I had some friends that liked Tool and they liked some of the bands that, that we like, but it's also, I'm kind of this dude that doesn't have I didn't have anybody else that I can talk to about the music I really like. So I will go do my own thing, find the bands I like. And it's kind of just for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of just for me.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy
you're basically
that.
dumpster diving.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I totally get, because I know when I was a kid, like, I've been fortunate that I've always had friends that dig metal.
Okay.
For whatever reason. And I guess it's just like-minded things. Like, I was telling you the story earlier about Carlos and his older brother Jaime, who was like, yeah, man, he dig these bands. And then my friends kind of started getting into it. Then I get to college. The guys I hung out with, one of the guys was a diehard Metallica guy.
Okay.
Like, I liked Metallica. Well, let me put it this way. I thought I liked Metallica until I met this guy.
Oh, okay.
And then he would be like, well, have you gotten the European import from the da-da-da-da?
Yeah, with the extra track or
dumpster diving dude, right?
Yeah.
So that was my, like, just having, like you had to kind of go hardcore by going to the booklets and things. Like, I had friends that, like, when I got to Baylor in 1990.
Okay.
Well, Cowboys from Hell came out that year.
Yeah.
I didn't know who Pantera was, right? I'm hanging out with a buddy, like in my dorm, the guy across the hall and the guy one door down from him were all metal guys.
Okay.
All like the two guys in each of those rooms. And the one guy across the hall says, hey, a friend of mine, he's from DeSoto. He goes, friend of mine goes to Baylor. He's a junior. We can go to his apartment. And like at that point, it was like, oh, I'm 18. Like we can go to this guy's apartment. We can drink.
Yeah.
Like he's sweet.
Yeah.
He'll make margaritas. And we get over there, and he had a buddy who was like, we're listening to like Metallica.
Yeah.
And this guy walks in and goes, I just bought the best CD. Like these guys, this album just came out. Well, I'm throwing it on right now. It's Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah.
Throws it on. Opening riff, Cowboys from Hell. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Hold on. Excuse me? Like, what am I listening
So
to?
I go to my local Sam Goody or CD warehouse, buy the Pantera Cowboys from Hell.
Yeah.
Completely changed the game for me.
Isn't it? You could, yeah, there's always these milestone albums. Pivot
Yes.
Point, you're saying that earlier.
Yes.
Pivot Point is great. So for me, the Pivot Point album, and I was telling you this earlier, and I
Yeah.
don't know if we'll keep that I don't know what we're going to actually keep beforehand.
Yeah.
But Sepultura Roots, and I used to call it Sepultura because I didn't even know
did
what
too.
it was. Like
I did too.
Sepultura? Sepultura?
And then you're like, they're from where? Brazil?
Brazil?
Yeah.
Max Cavalera?
And they're like the biggest band ever in Brazil.
Yeah, that's just like, it's crazy. They're like the Metallica of Brazil.
Yes.
And you don't realize how big they were in
Massive.
Brazil.
Yes.
But I remember Roots, and I'm going,
Oh, man.
whoa. Like when
crushing.
Roots bloody. And like that first track, and I'm going, oh, there are so many different levels beyond what I thought was heavy metal.
Totally agree.
That I'm like, wow, I don't know. You know, you ever have, we all have these experiences in life where you go, oh, I don't know anything. That was my moment where
100%.
I didn't know anything. I was
that
like,
was me with Pantera.
Deftones and Korn, heavy bands. Metallica, my dad listened to White Zombie, cool.
Yeah.
Sepultura, that's what I also found.
And with the tribal beats and the whole thing, right? Yeah.
But I found, oh, Dad, there's layers you don't like. I'm like, oh, I like this. I put it on for my dad. He's like, this stuff sucks. Screaming. Like, what is this?
What are they saying?
Yeah, what are they even saying? Like, how could you listen to this?
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
Like,
So,
well, I like it.
All right,
Yeah.
I found where you
Yeah,
stop.
we found your threshold.
But it's funny, you know, and I want to talk, like, I had some kind of preconceived questions. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you some of these things, but like, what was your kind of transition to where you knew you were a lifer? Because it sounds like you were introduced in college,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
was there ever like, oh, like this is my thing forever?
Well, you know, it's funny. Yeah, so I guess like because I'd started like on like the rock track and then did like the Priest and Maiden and all that stuff, and then kind of did the hair metal thing because I grew up during that.
Okay.
Like I was 15 years
Did
old.
you have the hair by the?
I had a ripping mullet.
Did you
like I had a
really?
mullet that was luscious.
I wish. Do you have pictures of this?
Oh yeah.
by chance?
Oh, I'll
we don't
send
have to
you
like
some.
put them publicly.
No,
I
no,
gotta
no.
see
But
these
I'll
pics,
send you
yeah.
some. But and then like so I go to college in 1990.
Okay.
That's Pantera. But then grunge starts. Like
Yeah.
Nirvana comes out, and it's like
Oh,
now there's
yeah.
this whole like punk thing that's kind of happening along with it, right? And then you get like the triumvirate from Seattle: Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in
baby.
Chains, Nirvana. And what was so funny is out of those bands, like Soundgarden to me was a metal band.
Yeah, they were totally.
I mean, like they're a metal. You listen to that old Soundgarden. You listen to
What's the album before Super Unknown?
Bad Motorfinger.
Yes, that's definitely a metal album.
It's a metal album.
Yep.
You go before that, like they're metal. Those are straight. Alice in Chains, Facelift. That's a metal album.
Yep.
Dirt. That's a metal album.
Okay, I'm glad you agree because I consider that metal, but I
Oh,
put it in the
100%.
context of what I listen to today. I'm like, oh, that's hard rock. But at the time,
It
I
is
would
in context now.
Yeah.
But at the time, that's metal.
Yeah.
Right. So me and my buddies. So I think it was like once I got to college and I realized I'm like I enjoy going down the rabbit hole. Like to quote Code Orange. But
Code Orange, yeah,
who
I
I
like Code
love,
Orange.
which is new metal.
They're
but,
awesome, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's when I realized I was like, okay, like I heard a great quote from Rob Zombie one time,
Okay.
where he goes, I've never met a guy who digs metal who just said, oh, I like Slayer one summer.
Okay.
Like he's like, once it has you, it has you.
It has you forever. I agree.
And and I can remember like being in my mid 20s and talking to guys that were in their 40s that like dug metal and being like, wow, they still like dig that stuff. Like that's super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 50 now. I turned 50 this year. Like my tastes have gotten way more diverse, way heavier. Like and it's
I'm glad you
it's
said
back
that.
to the tentacles.
I'm glad you said that. So I went through a phase in college where none of my friends that played soccer in college were really into metal. So I got, and this was also big in the Napster and all the download
Free
music.
downloads.
Free download
Free
of music
for everyone.
You could download a CD overnight, bro. Like that's all. It's only overnight. So then I would get into, I was a Radiohead fan in college. And then I'd get into some other stuff.
And I like other genres. I'm like you.
Yeah, same way as Sigaros and bands like that.
Yeah.
But I would download non-metal stuff. And I kind of went through a phase where I was non-metal, but there was always this thing underneath is like, don't forget.
The teeth in it.
Yeah, and then after college, it's funny, and God rest his soul, Jeff Jennings was my old boss at Benefit Mall. I remember going to lunch one day, and he's like, hey, you want to grab lunch with me? I'm sure. I get in his car, he forgot to turn his CD down.
Nice.
Rage Against the Machine is blasting. And I'm 24, 25 at the time. Yeah. And I'm like, this 45-year-old guy still listens to metal? And it was like almost this like nod of approval. Like, oh, you can still listen to metal, dude. It's cool.
Absolutely.
Like you can be a professional and you can be a manager and like all this stuff and still wear his tie to work and still listen to metal when you get in your car.
Absolutely.
And so that was almost like this blessing, hey, it's okay to keep listening.
That's right.
I remember that to this day. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's about, I had moved, so I was living in St. Louis. I moved to Texas and back to Texas in 2011. I'm running a region for the company that I work for, and my head underwriter at the time, Edgar,
yeah.
says, we start talking about music, and suddenly I realize he likes metal. So we start swapping. This is pre-Apple Music, right, where you can get everything, like I want all the music now on my phone at this exact second. We would do thumb drives.
Oh, yeah.
And we would, he didn't realize like that Pantera had Down and that there was like Damage Plan and all these like bands that were offshoots. Yeah. And he was super into Maiden. Like he's a Maiden guy.
Okay.
So he'd be like, oh, well, do you have all the Maiden stuff? I was like, I've got some of it. I got Peace of Mind and I've got, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son and Stranger in a Strange Land, all these things. Oh, no. Gives me all the Maiden stuff. So we're just swapping thumb drives back and forth. Well, that's how we bonded. That's
so cool.
So then it was like, you're a metal guy. I'm a metal guy. And what's funny is that's 2011. We're working together at a unnamed company. A couple years later, we start our own thing. But we bonded over metal.
Well, I remember you said you were very close to having Maiden in the name of your company as well.
We were so close to having Maiden be in the name.
So cool.
and because we literally, the joke was at the time, we were like, how can we work in a rock band or a metal band into our name, and where the world won't get it, but those who know will know.
Yeah. You couldn't call it Slayer-re, right?
Right.
But Maiden.
We almost went Maiden-re.
Oh,
I mean, we came. If you only knew how close we came, and then I was
already think you're really cool, Jeff. If you had gone with Maiden-re, I realize how cool I think you were right now. That's fine.
I would have escalated.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's fun. But it's like I was in college. Those guys were super into metal. That launched it for me.
Yeah.
Then, I graduate college. I have kids. I kind of lose it for a little bit.
You do. Yeah.
Because you're occupied with other things, right? So I missed the Machine Head Fear Factory window. Man. Now I totally dig Machine Head.
Okay.
Fear Factory. I think you sent me something.
And I love Fear Factory.
I was like, not my cup of tea.
Dang. Okay.
But it's like I missed a little window, so it was kind of fun after losing track of it for a couple years to then track back.
Yeah.
Like Machine Head was an epiphany. Like you hear Davidian, and you're just like, who on
Let Freedom Ring with a shotgun blast.
Saw him live and saw him do Davidian and went, okay, yeah, that's.
Yeah, Machine Head is one of those bands that I feel like didn't get
underappreciated,
quite the recognition they should have.
Well, gotten. I think they came. It's funny you talk about timing, right? You have glam, hair metal.
Yeah.
Grunge kills it.
Grunge really did kill metal for a while. Yeah,
kills it, right? So then it's grunge, but then it's grunge, but it's kind of metally.
Yeah.
Then you get the new metal. And then everybody's like, new metal's corny.
Yeah.
This is stupid. Fred Durst is a whatever he is. Blah, 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 blah. And the bands that weren't very good in that area kind of went away.
Yeah.
But a Korn kept going.
Korn's the only one that really.
Out of that. And Deftones.
Yeah. Deftones. And wildly, Mudvayne, one of my favorite bands of all time.
I dig Mudvayne.
Mudvayne announced they're coming back.
Went away and came back.
Yeah. No, Mudvayne. Wasn't he the singer of Damage Plan?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What I forgot.
Or Hell Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Hell yeah, like that's the band. In case
Yes,
anybody's
yeah,
like, nothing,
right.
we're saying hell yeah. But Mudvayne was one of those where the LD50, that first album for them,
that album
that is so
crushes.
technical, so proggy.
Oh yeah.
But it's
yeah,
just
that's
heavy.
in your lane.
Yeah,
big
it's
time.
so in my lane, man.
Yeah, because it's funny. So you talk about Apple Music.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew who Mudvayne was. I heard the song "Dig."
Yeah.
Right? Which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing. I'm getting, you get the little playlists on Apple Music, Spotify, whatever. They'll kind of generate like if you like this, then you'll like this. I'm listening, and they throw on Mudvayne, the song off of LD 50 or 5.0, whatever it is.
Death Blooms?
No, that's one.
Okay.
The other one is that No Forever or Now Forever.
Oh yes, yeah.
I literally just heard that song for the first time 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a 20-year-old song.
Yeah.
As far as I was concerned, I was like, I had no idea these guys were this good.
Well, so the Mudvayne was unfortunately lumped in with the new metal, and
That's
they
right.
did the makeup. Remember, they won a Grammy. They won a Grammy, and the guy comes up with
Looking like a
full makeup,
hobgoblin.
a bullet hole painted on his forehead with blood dripping down, and everybody's like, "What is going
is
on?
wrong with this
What is wrong with
psychopath?"
that?" But like that album actually was legitimately incredibly
It's the truth.
technical. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really good.
Yeah.
But they got lumped in with
Yes.
new metal, and I think unfortunately that followed them for the rest of their career.
It did.
Yeah.
It did, and that's why I think they went away, right? And
They
even
did.
and even Limp Bizkit, like it's funny, like I totally dig the Limp Bizkit.
I do too,
It's
man.
fun.
Super, like
Those first
what is
couple
that,
albums.
what a guilty pleasure, like
Guilty
definitely
pleasure.
guilty
Yeah, I think
pleasure.
you said that to me in a text
Yeah.
one time. You're like, because you put out like the dad vibe song
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
But like they put out an album, I guess it was around 2011. It's Gold Cobra.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love that album. I love that
I don't
album.
think I got into
Me
that.
and 9 other people dig
Yeah,
that
no-
album.
no
But it's
kidding.
like that's what I enjoy about this genre. It's like that again, it's a metal record. There's a handful of songs that are, more rappy or whatever.
Yeah.
But like and for me personally, like I love metal, but the other thing that I like concurrently coming up was rap. So when new metal came along, I was like, two great tastes that taste great together.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
But then it got corny and it became basically glam metal. Is what
Yeah,
it ended
became,
up becoming.
yeah, it became like this meta, like
Well, it
meta
becomes
metal.
bastardized.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
It's like grunge starts out with Nirvana and then like ends with Creed.
yeah.
And
And Nickelback and like,
you're like, what happened here? You
Yeah.
know? So it's but then like you go into certain genres like that, like what I like is that there's bands that are just straight timeless.
yes,
Like Maiden's a great example. Like I just saw them 2 years ago. Bruce Dickinson sounds fantastic. The songs sound fantastic. Like Pantera, I know they're getting ready to reunite with their kind of new situation, but like those you can throw on a Pantera album, you can throw on an Alice in Chains album, and it's 30 years old, and it sounds like they made it yesterday.
Well, see, that's what I love about Tool, and I know everybody like this
Great
in
example.
our world. Like Tool is the pinnacle, right? But like you can listen to Opiate, and it
so
stands
good.
up today. That's a 25-plus-year-old album. It
Yeah,
stands
I
up.
think it's
Yeah, 30,
30.
30, yeah.
Yeah, 30.
Stands up. But it not even just stands up. Like timeless sound, production quality. Like there's not. You don't. If you listen to glam metal, you go, "Oh, that's the '80s." You hear
it jumps
it's
off the
the
page.
80s.
Even new metal.
Yeah, new
has
metal
that
too.
same-
It has a sound. You listen to a Tool album, you're like, could that be now? Could that have been 30 years ago?
That's right.
It still sounds timeless
right.
because it didn't ever latch on to a trend
No.
or any like like what would you call it? Not a trend.
No,
but
I think that's right.
Trend's the right word.
yeah.
But to
what the group was doing.
Purely made great
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
So let me ask you: is there a genre or is there a bridge too far for you? Like, what can you not listen to that falls into the metal umbrella?
So I can dip my toe in death metal.
Okay. So what would be a band that you are okay with in the death metal like subgenre?
Oh gosh, I mean, it'd be like the example for me would be like a Napalm Death.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
and they're kind of older.
Yeah.
But like I could listen to like one or two of their songs.
Yeah.
But it wears
The
me
Cookie
out.
Monster
It wears
vocals.
me out.
Yeah, it does.
wears me
It
out.
does, yeah.
It wears me out. Now, if a band goes like a great example, and there's a whole genre of this, right? Like the new wave, but it's the new wave of American metal, which was like Killswitch Engage, Shadows Fall, bands like that, where they would do the deathy thing,
Yeah.
but then sing.
Yes.
I'm all in on that. But
Okay.
when it's 38 minutes of
Yeah.
Cookie Monster, I can't.
So a great example is there's a band Decapitated, which you
Oh,
talk
yeah, I know
about
exactly who they are.
stupid like decapitated.
Yeah.
Like you can't even like say that out loud to a normal person. Oh, this is this band Decapitated.
They're like my favorite band. Look at the shirt.
Yeah, look at this cool shirt where somebody's decapitated.
Yeah.
But they have that absolute Cookie Monster vocals. But there's a song, and then my buddy, so I have a buddy like you had a mentor. There's this guy named Travis Edlin. Shout out to him. He's a banker, like a commercial banker.
Nice.
He's a buddy of a buddy. But we discovered, you like Tool?
Metalhead.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, you need to listen to this, and you listen to this. And he's like, do you listen to this? And he sent me this decapitated song, and
Great
I forgot
song.
what it's called. But it is. The riffs are the best riffs I've ever
Bone
heard.
crushing.
But the vocals are so cheesy.
Now, what genre for you is like the no-go?
So
I know you're not a thrash guy, but
No, I'm not a thrash.
I think that's more of an age thing.
Yeah, but
than it is.
I'll listen to Testament, although like Demonic was the Demonic Refusal and like those that was a weird kind of pivot for Testament, but that was the album I liked.
That
of
one you
Testament.
liked, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But so not a huge thrash fan. Black metal. And nothing that those
Okay.
that are known black metal, if you're not a metal fan, it's not nothing to do with race.
Yeah.
Black metal is like screeching vocals,
Yes.
usually from like Scandinavia.
Well, like the Swedish death metal thing.
Swedish
right?
death metal.
That's black
yeah.
metal. Or
what was
Swedish
that
black
band
metal.
that like the lead singer was actually a serial killer and they made was it not Malevolence?
No, but have you ever seen that movie?
The documentary or slash movie? Yeah.
Insane.
It's insane. The guy literally was killing people.
They took it way too serious.
They did take it way too serious.
Yeah.
But that subgenre, which is characterized by screeching vocals, like very noise, ambient focus,
Yeah.
and it's
not for you?
so discordant that I can't get into.
Yeah, you can't even like gather the sounds to make it. Like,
And I think that's the genre that if you're a metal person and you're trying to look for the thing that everybody else disassociates themselves from, but like, I'm a pure metalhead.
Yeah.
Black metal is it. Because
agreed.
most people, even metalheads, are going like,
it's a bridge too far, and that's a good way of putting it. A bridge too far.
It is a bridge, and that's the only bridge too far. I didn't actually like death metal until my buddy Travis, buddy of a buddy, was like getting me into, like he said, Decapitated. That's when I picked up Rivers of Nihil.
But I could find a band. Like for me, like death metal's not my thing.
Yeah.
But I can find like you'll send me a link and be like, hey dude, check out this song, and I'll be like, okay, that song's awesome.
That song is awesome.
Like,
yeah.
Well, and even like, and I know you're not a big thrash guy, but I guarantee you, I could go home today, pluck out 10 thrash songs.
I need
and be
you to
like,
actually do that after
and
this,
be like,
yeah.
all right, dude, check these out, and you'd be like, oh man, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, like old Anthrax, like
you need guidance, right? It's like I can't get into it if I just first impression
because
like
you're never
hear
gonna
it.
know where to start.
But you go, okay, listen to this track, and if you wait till minute 3 when this happens, then you're like, oh.
Well,
okay.
and what's crazy is like for example, like you like Pantera,
yes, yeah,
obviously.
Totally.
I mean, Pantera, a lot of their roots are in thrash.
yeah.
Now it's groove metal.
Weren't they glam metal for a
They
while?
started out
Yeah,
glam metal.
yeah.
I didn't catch them in that phase,
didn't
but
either.
I've seen those albums and they are corny looking. Holy moly! But everybody was doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and there's, and you know what's really crazy? Like you look at like even in glam metal, like you look in that era, there were really good bands in there that just got caught up in the look.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like a band that everybody now will be like a Dokken. Dokken rocks, man. Like I love Dokken. Tesla. My wife just saw Tesla like a month ago at House of Blues.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's
like,
funny.
but they're just good rock bands, but they got caught up in the wash.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like what we were talking about with the new metal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mudvayne's a perfect example.
Yeah.
But like Deftones, I just saw them.
Well,
couple
they
months ago.
got unfairly lumped into death metal.
They did it, and then
Or
once
not new metal. Excuse
but
me.
once they released White Pony, that was over.
Yeah.
They like White Pony is another pivot point where
Yeah.
you're like Back to School and Feliciteria and Streetcarp and like all these.
Maynard
really,
does an appearance on
Maynard's
it.
on
Yes.
Passenger,
Passenger.
and you're just like, oh, like Deftones to me, like if I was making a list of like my top 6 favorite metal bands, Pantera's the top, Metallica's on there. Deftones are definitely on there, and a band that's like sneaky that people go metal, Nine Inch Nails,
Nine Inch Nails, really? Yeah.
because that's industrial.
It is industrial, yeah.
But there's a lot of metal there, and a lot of screaming, and a lot of angst.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and that like that's one of those like that's what I like about metal too. Like people can kind of skirt the edge of metal.
yeah.
You know, like
That's
a
fair.
9 Inch Nails can kind of like dip their toe in it and then come out of it. You know,
Yeah.
Alice in Chains can put out Nutshell.
Yes.
Nice acoustic. Rotten Apple. I mean, that EP is as good as it gets,
So
right?
good. Yeah, so good.
But then they put out Dirt, and it's got Them Bones, Damn That River,
Angry Chair.
Angry Chair. The first album, Hate to Feel, and Sunshine, I Can't Put You Down. I mean, I can just reel these things off.
Yeah.
They're like it's like muscle memory for me.
Totally.
Like with these bands and with these songs and with these albums and then like you said, it puts you back in moments.
Totally.
Like, you know, like for me, like you talk about Dirt and you're like, Dirt's my first album. Dirt was my second Alice in Chains album. I was already in college, right? Because I'm old and you're not. and it's like I can remember buying Dirt. I can remember buying Super Unknown from Soundgarden. I can remember buying Bad Motorfinger from and being like giddy.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember buying Megadeth, Holy Wars album.
Okay.
And I know you're not a thrash guy, but like Megadeth.
I mean, I have respect for Megadeth, but I didn't ever get into it.
That song, and I think I had sent it in a text to you.
You sent me, and I
Edgar,
listened to
it. I was like, dude, this song, Holy Wars, Punishment Due, I'll put it up against anything.
Okay.
And you're like,
Dave Mustaine vocals.
No, his vocals are a beating.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rush, right? Like, love him or hate him. Not everybody can get into Rush's.
Right.
And what was he passed? No, Neil Peart passed away. But what's the lead singer's name?
Geddy Lee.
Yeah. Some songs I can do.
Acquired taste.
It's an acquired taste.
Acquired taste.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste, and you hate to do that because like Rush is kind of the predecessor to Tool. Like everybody puts Rush as the predecessor for Tool.
Yeah.
And Tool kind of combines Rush plus Pink Floyd.
Yes.
They kind of combine those two things.
Yes.
But like I couldn't get like other than Tom Sawyer and what's the radio something radio.
Yeah, Spirit of Radio.
Spirit of Radio. Like they're popular songs I get into, but I can't get into his vocals. And I know how great they are. I know how revered they are. Megadeth, same way. Just
not your thing.
Can't
well,
find
and a great example of this now is like a band like Knocked Loose.
Yeah.
Knocked Loose, who you and I both love.
Dude,
we saw them live.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, I was
because you told me you're like, okay, I know you like these guys.
Yeah.
Here's the lyrics. Yeah. Here's the theme of
Tearing the Fabric
of Life. Oh my god,
yeah. Brilliant.
I remember when you first said go actually like read the lyrics, go look at it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just
changes the game.
I had no idea, and then I literally wear that album out now.
Me too.
And when you talk about we find metalheads in our industry, I was on a podcast the other day with Patrick Moore and Jim. I forgot Jim's last name, and I'm sorry. He works for Axum, and they do GovCon. Okay. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah. No industry.
Jim and I he saw when I posted something on LinkedIn, and I had a Knock Loose shirt on. I'm like, wait, hey, is that like the band Knock Loose? And I'm like, yeah.
So
and I'm like,
they were.
I'm like, Knock Loose is this and this. And he's like, dude, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and I'm into punk. And got into hardcore. Knock Loose is my favorite band. I'm like, whoa, we just became friends.
What?
Yeah,
Dude,
like
let's go do karate in the garage.
Like here I am, like describing the album and what the motif of the concept. Yeah. He's like, bro, I know Knock Loose. I've seen him like 20 times.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, you and I are now friends. Like
that's crazy.
And it's so fun when you just throw. You don't. The post wasn't even about metal.
Yeah.
But then you have that shirt on, and he saw it, and he's like, I just found a friend.
But you know what's funny though? But you talk about acquired taste, right? Yeah. So the singer for Knocked Loose,
it is a little acquired. It totally is.
Like it's
because it's that high register.
So like Edgar,
yeah.
Like he's like, I can't.
You can't do it.
Can't do it. And I'm like, man, like whenever you and I went and saw him, right? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to this show, right? It's a young man show. Like we stood up for 4 hours.
Yeah, we were too old to go.
Yeah, we were like, dude, it was the night before Mother's Day, by the way. But which makes me laugh whenever I think back on that. I'm like, hey, sweetie, we're gonna have a great.
I know
Mother's
I'm gonna
Day.
be out till 1 a.m, but we're really gonna have a nice Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, but I gotta go see Knocked Loose first with Kubla Khan. To all the no, but anyway, so but Edgar can't do it.
He can't do it.
Can't do it.
Edgar's more proggy, right?
Edgar is what? So you talk about like here's interesting. Here's a dichotomy, right? Doesn't like Knocked Loose because of the voice. Loves Rush.
Yeah.
But Geddy Lee.
But I love Knocked Loose. Don't like Rush.
Don't like Rush.
It's weird. Yeah.
I mean, it's like some people like, and that's what I like, and that's why I like, and I think why we jive well. Like we cross over on. Let's say 40%, 50%.
Yeah, we probably more than you.
Probably more than
that.
Yeah, right? Probably more than that. But it's nice when you bring a band like a Rivers of. I've never heard of Rivers of Nile.
Yeah.
And then I listen to a song and I'm like, damn, that's good.
Yeah.
You know?
But you're almost like, there's that like.
Well, initially, right? Like because a logo and it's got all the weird.
So what I call that is a barrier to entry. So like in business, right? There's. Certain economies of scale. There's certain barriers of entry where like you can't stand up a business as an insurance company right now, a medical insurance company without massive amounts of capital.
Yeah.
There's a barrier to entry for certain, like death metal is a great example.
Oh yeah.
The vocal style is a barrier to entry. Monster. It is. Once you can kind of get your ear accustomed to it.
Yes.
then you can find the layer 2 and layer 3 of the songs. But there's a barrier to entry that it's like kind of testing you.
Yes.
And there, every once in a while, there's music that almost is like, that's kind of you to get it, to listen to it, you almost have to pass a test. You almost have to have your ear go, and then you're like, it's almost like tuning, like the old, like tuning a TV and the antennas to finally get the signal.
Holding your leg up. Is this good? Yeah.
But again, we're talking to 20-year-olds that probably have no idea.
Yeah,
what
right.
the hell
Yeah,
we're talking
exactly.
about.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
There is a point where it's like, then you get it. And again, Travis was really instrumental in helping me get into death metal. Once I got it, I'm like, wow, I just discovered this whole subgenre, this branch, that I'm like, man, I never knew existed before.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so we go down that path, or like I wanted to ask you, and this is really kind of fun to me.
Yeah.
Can you give me your top 5? You almost you listed earlier,
top
but top
5
5
bands?
albums or
albums.
Well, let's go bands. Let's go bands, and then if you want to layer albums on top of that, if you can remember.
Actually, albums. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can. So. No, we should probably do bands because that's unfair. Because like I love every Pantera album.
Okay.
Like they in my
same
opinion,
with Tool. Like top 10 albums might have 3 Tool.
Right.
Albums.
Yeah. So Pantera was 100% top 5. Metallica, 100% top 5. And like Metallica, it's funny now. Like you think about Metallica, like how mainstream they've become.
Yeah.
But like when Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All.
Yeah.
Those are 4 perfect albums.
Yeah.
Front to back, nobody's going to trounce on those. Same with Pantera. Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power, which is still the single best album name ever.
Vulgar Display of Power. That's the Punch.
The Punch. Yeah. Far Beyond Driven.
Far Beyond Driven.
Which is but like they were one of those bands. I think they were almost like okay, we're heavy, we're going to go heavier.
No, and keep it like take the mainstream with them,
and bring it with.
Make them come to the heavier side because they're like so. Suicide Note Part 1 and 2.
That's the screamy
Part 2.
That's
oh
thrash.
My gosh, that is so insane.
But that's thrash.
So heavy.
Like you say, you don't like thrash.
Maybe I do.
I think you like thrash more than you realize.
Maybe I do.
I mean, that's off Great Southern Trendkill.
Yes.
Which I mean, the cover of that album, Snakehead, awesome.
Yeah.
But so Metallica, Pantera. Oh gosh, now you're putting me to the test.
Hey, I sent you the questions
yesterday. I know you did.
Yeah.
You did. And I've noodled on this. I literally
To be fair, I'm only buying time because I don't know if I know the answer. Isn't it the hardest thing in the world is like, let's say there's 500
it's like
albums
choosing
you
your
like.
favorite kid.
There's 100 albums you love. Now narrow it down to 5 that you say are top 5.
Now,
it's almost impossible.
You know what? I'll throw Every Time I Die on there.
Okay, I know you're a big fan of Every Time.
And they broke up, which just like shreds me.
Did they permanently break
up?
Okay,
they're done. They're done. And they were one. You know, and it's funny you talk about how you find bands, and now in this current era, where you find bands like via Twitter. That's how I found Knocked Loose.
Really?
The singer of Every Time I Die tweeted, "You want to hear a great album? Knocked Loose, Different Shade of Blue."
Okay.
I went out and immediately downloaded it. Like, or no, sorry, not Different Shade of Blue. Belleville, the first album.
Yes.
The Laugh Tracks, I think is what it's called.
Oh, I know. I can picture it
with
in
like
my
the
mind.
cartoon thing, right?
Yeah.
So Every Time I Die would be on my list. So Pantera, Metallica, Every Time I Die. See, and then I kind of go like Priest would be on there for me, and then I go OG with Sabbath.
OG with Sabbath. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Top bands or
top 5 bands?
Top 5 bands. Okay.
Yeah.
Tool.
Okay.
Did you mention Tool?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. Now, they'd be like 5A.
I didn't know if they'd be like outside of the top 5 where it's like all time great. Oh no.
Yeah, they'd be just outside my top.
I'd go
echelon.
Tool.
Okay.
I go Deftones. I'll date myself with Korn because of the way that Korn made metal popular.
Absolutely.
It was insane.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go with, I got the Rivers of Nile shirt on. And so for anybody that's never heard Rivers of Nile, they're really insane. And
they are.
They have a 4-album concept album that has this like follows the path of some guy going through spanning eons of it's like the stupidest
thing. It's like Dungeons and Dragons,
it's
but
Dungeons
in metal.
and Dragons
yeah.
metal, you know? But like for whatever reason, this Where Owls Know My Name, like that album alone made them where they are in my top
See, I
5.
gotta give them another go now. Now you're
This
making
album,
them sound
I'm
so appealing.
You, like just start with this album, and if you the barrier to entry with the vocals. If you can get past that, they have saxophone breaks. They have like 90-second saxophone interludes. Like if you ever need your palate cleansed after 3 minutes of just like, and then it's like like on a saxophone, like that. That gets me every time. So I've got Tool, I've got Korn, I've got Deftones, I've got Rivers of Nile.
Okay.
And you know what? One that we don't talk about enough, and I don't actually give them enough rotation, but as a band, they're kind of the pinnacle of metal right now is Gojira.
So
have you seen Gojira live?
I have seen Gojira live.
Okay. And that's when I got him. When I got Gojira, when finally I had a buddy that was like, dude, come see Gojira. And I forgot who they were playing with, and I really wasn't a huge Gojira fan. He's like, you have to see them live.
So my buddy, obviously business partner, Edgar, diehard Gojira guy. Diehard. We just saw him with, they were with Deftones. And Toyota.
That's an odd mix.
And I mean, and Edgar, and I love Deftones. Like Deftones for me, like you say top 5, like I could do a top 50.
Chino Moreno, dude. Yeah.
Just incredible voice, right? The whole thing. Gojira comes out, and like again, we go back to this. I like Gojira. Edgar loves Gojira.
Okay, yeah.
And we saw him open up for Mastodon once.
Yeah.
We also saw them open up for, like I was just saying, Deftones. And it's really, and and here's my other favorite part about metal, speaking of just metal kind of in general, like favorite bands. You can go to a metal show, and there's 5 acts on the bill, 4 acts.
Yeah.
The first act comes out, you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
There's going to be 7 dudes losing their mind because they just got to see whoever that is.
Well, I remember
that's one of my favorite things at metal shows.
Tool had Meshuggah on like 20 years ago.
I dig Meshuggah.
As an open, and I dig them too, but I'm like,
again, acquired taste.
What is this?
Yes.
And like Tool is notorious for having an opening act that like so off the wall, like because they almost want you to be like into something different, you know, and not because they don't want to take away from their sound. They don't want to have somebody too similar to them.
No competition.
No competition. But I remember like seeing Meshuggah open up for Tool. I'm like, what is this?
And that guy.
Now Bleed. When I listen to Bleed, that's on like my metal like
I love Meshuggah.
workout playlist.
But again, Meshuggah's not a band that like I can throw on and listen to for an hour.
Well, that's like Death Gent. Like I don't even know if you combine those two things. It's like such a weird...
I don't even know what you call it because the guy sings like in the same key as the guitar.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird...
Well, you know that genre gent, D-J-E-N-T. It's like syncopated...
And that's Meshuggah.
Yeah, it's Meshuggah.
They
basically invented
They invented it,
yeah.
But it's really, you talk about seeing bands, and we were talking about it earlier, and I don't know if... I think we were talking, but I don't know if it was on this. Talking about seeing Korn open up for Megadeth.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I don't know who that is, but I got to buy the album. I went through the same thing. I saw Tool open up for Rollins Band.
Yeah. Henry Rollins.
Little teeny club. This band comes out, Tool.
Yeah.
All right, Tool and Maynard. He's got a mohawk. He's got a tattoo of his spine on his spine, which I never understood. And I'm From Me to You from Maynard while he's singing basically Opiate.
So sick.
And it was like they did a 20-minute set, most aggressive pit I've ever been in my life because back then I would hop in those things and do such things. And just being like the next day, got to buy the album.
Yeah.
Korn, open up for Megadeth, got to buy the album.
Got to buy that. Is there something about being undeniable? And that's what I want. Like when you recognize it in metal, when you see something, you're like, whoa. Like it literally, you have this like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it's something it's either a new sound or it's a new layer of heavy or it's so loud or just whatever the new thing may be. Metal has this continual evolution where it's constantly pushing the boundaries. Like I've noticed like metalcore, you mentioned that like way earlier. Metalcore is this new thing that I kind of missed. And then I came back to it and I'm like, whoa, like Thy Art is Murder and Carnifex and like they're almost like
band that's over
and,
Dillinger.
Yeah, Dillinger. Dillinger.
Oh.
That's why I like Boundaries. That's why I like Knocked Loose.
Yep.
That band Johnny Booth I sent you the other day.
Johnny Booth. And I wrote you back and go, dude, I listen to these guys.
Yeah. But that's what I love is like the rabbit hole is infinite. You can dig to China, theoretically for metal and you never stop.
So question for you.
Yeah.
New bands.
New bands. Okay.
Like I mean, because we're talking about a lot of like how we got into it and how but like
modern day.
Like who's somebody like that's out now that's like current, like touring and like on the come up?
So we mentioned earlier Kubla Khan. Kubla Khan is a band. They're from Sherman, Texas.
So much fun.
They're so ridiculous. I don't know if you would call them like they were with Knock Loose, so they kind of fit in that kind of sonic,
to me, they're like Hate Breedy.
Hate Breedy, but the guys like,
Which I love.
Yeah, it's
Which
so
I love.
but they're like doomy and slow, but then they'll get hardcore, but
Yeah.
his vocal style is so like it's so grovelly and masculine,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then you see him in live and he's like not that big a dude.
He's
you
like
know?
5'5".
Yeah, he's like 5'5". Like isn't that
Muscled
so
out, but
so
yeah.
fitting for metal?
Yes.
I love me some Kubakan. I love me some Knock Loose. There's a band that I think I've shared with you a couple times. The Contortionist, which I
You
don't
have shown me to them.
Man, and those guys, they came on my radar.
Crazy musicians.
Crazy musicians. I've seen them live. They opened up for Devin Townsend. And then there's Haken, which is like Edgar probably is into Haken. They're like super proggy.
Yeah.
Like Contortionist is pretty awesome. But I'm that guy that like the release radar on Spotify, I'm like picking up a new song or two like every single. So it's not like you're constantly looking for the next new thing, but you're constantly kind of like trying to find... You're combing, and then you're trying to find where is the evolution of the metal sound. Yeah. Like breakdowns are huge right now. Like I feel like there's
I'm a big fan of breakdowns.
I love me some breakdowns,
but they can be overkilled.
So it's kind of like in stand-up comedy when there's something called a callback in stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Callback is simply something I mentioned at one point in my set, and 20 minutes later I bring it back, and it's a guaranteed laugh.
Yes.
There's something about a breakdown that's like, as soon as I do a breakdown,
True story.
Everybody's like, whoa! Yeah. So there's something about a breakdown that's a little bit cheap, but also I don't care. I love it.
It's hard to argue, right?
I can't argue with it.
Like my joke, like Hatebreed is a great example. AC/DC. I mean, to me, like, and I'm drawing a line between AC/DC and Hatebreed. Like both of those bands play one song and they play it really well.
Yeah.
Like
and over and over and
over.
Yeah.
And Hatebreed is the king of the breakdown.
Yeah.
You know, and like Pantera was the king of the breakdown. Domination on Cowboys from Hell, where they break, and you're just like, what is this?
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's just crushing you between the eyes. And what I like, you talk about new bands, like, and I was talking about it earlier, Code Orange.
Code Orange, they're good.
Freaking
really good.
Love Code Orange.
Yeah.
Like I like the guy's voice. I like what they do. They kind of integrate an industrial thing. They did a thing over the COVID break where they did like a live stream show, which was brilliant. And what's funny is the singer used to be the drummer.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. And then he was singing all the songs, and they were like, dude, we need to get a new drummer, and you just come out front.
He's like Phil Collins.
He's like Phil Collins. Or the drummer from Mastodon, who's like an insane, but it's funny, you think about in the last 10 years, like bands that you've gotten into, right? And it's like, like Mastodon's a great example.
Yeah.
Those guys are off the charts musicians.
But I used to listen to like Crack the Sky and what was the... Oh man, Mastodon wasn't one I love, but you have those bands that span like 3 decades, and then there's like Testament's a great example. There's only one album on like a Testament.
You love? Yeah.
Actually, I like Trail of Tears, that other album.
See, and you're after me because like I like Practice What You Preach.
Okay.
And like
old
thrashy.
I almost don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's a period of time where everything culminated in a sound that you dug. Mastodon is the same way for
Crack the
like
Sky is brilliant.
One album.
Yeah.
But you mentioned like modern day bands. Your Alpha Cult, I think I sent you like I am the
you
the
did.
breakdowns, and you're like these like 18-year-old guys are like amazing, right? But what I think is cool is it never stops. Metal
100%.
will never just die.
No.
It'll continue to evolve, and it'll continue to be fun.
Yes.
And we'll continue to, be introduced to new ideas,
Yeah.
but also throwbacks to old ideas that work, right? And so you kind of draw, just like hip-hop draws from 50-year-old sampling, metal's going to draw from 40 years ago.
Well, it's going to track back. Like at some point, like for example, like Pantera, right? And everybody loves Pantera. You don't talk to a metal guy that doesn't like Pantera.
Yes. Yep.
Everybody loves Pantera. And then there's a band like Throwdown.
Yeah.
Never got big.
Never got big.
They sound exactly like Pantera.
They do. Yeah.
Like I mean, the guy was just like, okay, we're going to embrace our Pantera-ness. There's 100 bands that sound like Metallica, but then again, like I love like we talk about subgenres. Like what's your favorite? Like if you said, all right, there's metal. What's your favorite subgenre of metal?
The bands that I get into the most are prog metal. I like the long song.
Yeah.
Carnival, Tool, like
11 minutes
with ambient 4-minute meandering deal, then it comes back around and brings all the I like the challenge. I like there's math. I'm a math guy. You're a stop loss guy, so there's math, right? Yeah. I like the fact that you sonically hear things, then it takes you on a journey, then it brings it back around, but there's a sign like stuff that takes you 25 listens to get the song.
No, the musicianship on that stuff is off the charts.
Yeah, but also Fear Inoculum, I can't listen to that much because every song is 11 to 15 minutes long. Like I can't get into that. Like so like I understand that's
I'm
a
just going to the
self-indulgent.
store. I want a quick song.
Like just give me give me a couple, give me Knock Loose, an album that's over in 22 minutes. Like like give me that.
Yeah.
But that if I had to pick a subgenre, it's prog metal.
Okay.
So what's yours?
So for me, like I love like doom and like sludge.
I remember you saying that, yeah.
Like
and
that's my jam.
I kept trying to find what bands like I would say to you, like what it epitomizes doom.
So like, and it's a whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Like it's on its own, like so, and like stoner rock, like
Yeah.
they all kind of fall like, and like the quintessential stoner band is
Caius, yeah.
like that ended up becoming Queens of the Stone Age and,
Yeah.
and Josh Homme and the whole thing. Like Caius to me is like a perfect band.
Caius is pretty rad.
Put out like 3 albums,
Yeah,
maybe like Blues for the Red Sun or whatever, and like, but then like a band that like probably has like 7 fans, and no one listens. Windhand. And
I don't even know the name of the band.
That's
yeah.
a straight up doom band.
Okay.
So you talk about prog being long songs.
Yeah.
A lot of doom and sludge bands also have long songs, but they'll ride one note for
Yeah.
like 2 minutes.
And
whereas
it's so
whereas a
slow.
prog band will be like,
Yeah,
you know,
stoner
like,
rock is so slow, and it's like you have to be high, you know.
yeah.
Basically,
And what's so funny is it's like right, and it's funny because like I'm not that guy,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
But like it's great to listen. Like I'll be working. And I can, like, Windhand put out a live album, and I'm going to Edgar. I'm like, hey, man, like, this Windhand album, it's so great. And he's just like, yeah, I don't really.
Yeah.
It's not. But that's my subgenre is like that stoner sludge doom thing.
Well, see, that's
like,
almost
100%.
the beauty and the curse of metal is you will never find somebody that 100% overlaps with your taste.
That's right.
You have your own personal.
You'll have your core bands.
Yeah, you all have your 50 to 60% like
Yes,
overlap, like you're talking
yes,
about.
yes.
You will never find anybody in the world that 100%
Yes,
likes the same exact
yes,
bands as you.
yes.
And you almost have to go, well, all right, well, so I have to completely personalize my taste. These are my bands.
These are my
If
bands.
I overlap with Jeff on this album, we'll go
Yeah.
to this concert. If
That's
Edgar
right.
is my guy on this,
That's right.
Travis over here is my guy in this concert.
Yep.
Or you know what? I'll go to this concert by myself.
By myself, because I know nobody else. Because I think the Boundary show.
The Boundaries,
If I were, you know, and I wanted to see Boundaries because I dig Boundaries.
Yeah.
I think they're great.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's funny, like every time like a great example is like Every Time I Die. So I found them, love them,
Yeah.
brilliant in my opinion, broken up, R.I.P. But we went and saw them, and they were on a co-headlining tour with Taking Back Sunday.
Oh.
Of
Yeah.
all bands, right?
Yeah,
like kind
yeah.
of pop punk.
Yeah.
We go Every Time I Die does their set. We left.
Yeah.
Like we're like we don't need to stay.
Well,
for the
then
headliner.
when we saw Knock Loose and Kubla Khan, did we stay for the headline? I don't even remember what the headliner
no,
was.
headliner was Knock Loose,
Oh, it was Knock Loose. Okay,
but they had a bunch of like bands that we were like, oh, we're gonna go get t-shirts.
yeah, let's go. Let's
'Cause
go
they were
get a
almost like
beer.
emo.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is there's always like an overlap to a degree, but there's always a disconnect as well. But when you put together a bill, it's like there's gonna be people that go to the show to see the opening act.
Yes.
And they're like, yeah, like you
And
said,
that's what I love. Like talking about the
people.
7 guys.
Yeah, this is 7
yeah,
people.
yeah.
But so has there ever been, and I know, damn it, we got like 10 minutes left, which
Oh, we're good.
sucks.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get out of this
Yeah,
studio,
we'll
which sucks.
oh, shit.
Yeah, we do have to get out of the
Yeah.
studio. We'll make them kick us out. Have there ever been a band that you went to see and you were so disappointed at the concert?
Man.
We talked about the Down album that they recorded live that like is
album, which is
comically
atrocious.
terrible. Like, why did they ever decide to release this? But has there ever been a show that even if it wasn't terrible, just sort of like, oh,
Where you're just like,
man,
that
I
wasn't
had
great.
such high expectations in it.
I'm trying to think. Because I all I can think of is the Down live album.
Well, so before you answer, I'll give you time to think. But
Yeah.
like Rivers of Nile, they released an album about a year ago called The Work.
Okay.
I had such high expectations from where I was.
Now, album releases are a
Album, yeah,
different story.
that is more common. Where it's
Yes.
like
Yes.
they did this,
Yes.
and now because they did
I
this,
put them here.
they're here, and I presume the next thing will be up here.
Yes.
But in reality, the next thing was,
Yeah.
and that's I respect that from an artist perspective. Is like we accomplished something where we captured lightning in a bottle,
Yeah.
and all of our fans loved
Yep,
it,
yep.
and now we have the pressure to go repeat that,
Yeah.
and you cannot recapture lightning in a bottle.
So I will say, I just thought of a band that when I saw. So I love Black Label Society.
Okay,
I love Zach
kind of
Wild.
punk, right? Yeah,
It's more like
that's a band I never got into.
kind of just old school metal.
Okay.
and I'll take two bands, Black Label and Anthrax, where both bands I love. Whenever I've seen them, I saw, and they were on the same bill, and it just looked very mailed in.
Okay.
Like it was like, all right, like Anthrax, and Anthrax to me, if I'm ranking the big four, it's Metallica and then it's Anthrax for me.
I mean, it's funny. The only Anthrax I ever got into was because of Married with Children, and what's the dude?
Scotty Ian.
Scotty Ian, and he what's
breaks the guitar and does the whole thing, and it's like, playing the song.
Like Anthrax, like
But and that's my only problem, like with those bands, because they've been around a minute.
Yeah,
their show just seemed very mailed in.
Yeah, that's fair.
And now I've seen them after that, and they were great. Mm-hmm. But like I'd seen them on the same bill. It was this is a bill, Anthrax, Black Label, and Down.
Okay.
And what's crazy
Who headlined that show?
Black Label.
Okay.
And Down was the band before him, and it's like Down should have been the headliner.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. And now,
that.
granted, I'm partial, but it's like whenever you see them, just like you check their set list where you go see them, and it's like, okay, they're playing the same set list every night. And then you go see them, and you're like, okay, they're playing that same set list, and like the guy's probably saying the same things, and that's how those shows felt.
Yeah.
Like it was like, okay, they're just checking boxes.
Well, so that's what happened with. You remember when Slayer did like a 2-year final
I saw that
farewell tour?
I saw that tour.
I went to Oklahoma City to see it. It was like
that's right, you did.
Lamb of God, Testament, and Slayer.
I saw the same
but
show.
This was the farewell tour that they continued forever because they're like, well, let's come back around again because we need some money. But I remember watching it, and Testament was meh.
Yeah.
Slayer was, they're fine.
Yeah.
Lamb of God, Randy Blythe's his vocals, like you feel
good?
like. It was outside, so that was partially the problem.
Because I've never seen a
It
bad
was
Lamb of
also
God
during
show.
the day. So during the day really doesn't vibe well.
Different vibe.
And then Randy Blythe's vocals were just a little bit.
Well, again, because he's a screamer.
He's a screamer. And, you know, their new album, I'm really excited about it coming out.
We're going to go see him here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we're seeing Lamb of God.
Kill Switch. Fit for an Autopsy.
By the way,
on that.
Fit for Autopsy. Like, if I want to talk about a modern-day metal band, my God. Fit for an Autopsy. Dude, like I don't know if you've gotten as into that album.
I'm working on it. Them and Upon a Burning Body right now. I can't get enough.
Yes.
Like Upon a Burning Body right now. I'm all in. All in.
So I'm going to say something blasphemous right now, Jeff.
Go.
Fit for an Autopsy. Their catalog, if you go backwards, better than Lamb of God's.
Wow.
And I'm going to say that. I'm going to
That
say
is a
that.
bold-
It's a bold statement.
bold
You're gonna challenge me on this, and you're going to say no way in hell that's possible. I listen to them and I'm like, dude, everything they do stands up.
Okay.
It stands up.
See, so I'll leave this podcast today. I will literally get in my
to
car.
the Spotify Fit for an Autopsy radio.
Okay.
Just listen to it. They covered Walk With Me in Hell by Lamb of God. Lamb of God's is better. I'll say that. But when you took it in totality
great.
of their songs, I think I know this is, maybe I'm going to look back at 5 years from now, I'm going to go, I listen to myself say this. And
That
I'm
is
like,
a bold
that is
statement.
ridiculous what you just said,
It's
Spencer.
a bold statement.
Because what is the album where it's the Lamb of God album where Ashes of the Wake.
Yeah, great album.
So good.
Yeah.
The latest Fit for Autopsy album, I'm telling you it's better.
Wow.
I'm telling you it's better, Jeff.
Wow.
I know. I can't. Why am I continuing to say this?
Wow.
I should stop right now.
That is.
I genuinely believe this.
Yeah.
And
but it's like, and that's the beauty of what we're talking about, right? Like you find a band, like Every Time I Die is that band for me. Like they kind of reignited. Mm-hmm. Then I went down a hardcore hole.
Hardcore,
metalcore hole. I liked Every Time I Die, which led me to Dillinger, which then Greg Puciato, who's a singer of Dillinger, who puts out his own solo stuff, which is brilliant. He was the singer on the Jerry Cantrell tour that was doing the Lane Staley parts.
Oh, that
guy's got a great voice.
Awesome. Yeah.
But then like Dillinger, if you listen to Dillinger, like there are people that listen to Dillinger and go, that's unlistenable.
Dillinger to me is almost unlistenable.
I love it.
I agree. It's so chaotic. It's just so fast.
I mean, I'm like, I don't know how these guys, and they broke up, and it's like, well, yeah, they broke up because like they can't keep doing that, right?
Yeah, because those guys are in their 50s probably, or 40s or
40s, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna die.
So all right, so most off the wall band that you can get into, like the band that's like, if anybody ever knew you listened to it, you're like, oh, they're gonna completely disassociate themselves with me.
Wow. Boy, I have to think on that one. Because I probably have a few of them.
There's a lot of Well, I would say honestly, Rivers of Nile is in that. I remember a buddy,
definitely fall in
a
that
buddy of
bucket.
mine was like, "Dude, tell me what you listen to. Like,
Yeah.
send me a song." And I sent him a
really want
song,
me to?
and he and his wife listened to it. And they're like, "What is wrong with them?" It's actually the couple we're gonna hang out with tonight. Like, that's the band that if I ever wanted to go as far as humanly
Yeah.
possible, I would.
It would be screamy for me, like a band like there's a band called Dying Wish. The singer is a female.
Female, yes.
But they are awesome, and so you need to talk about sending. So I was meaning to send something to my buddy Edgar Carbonell, EC. It accidentally went to my friend Eric Crutchfield, EC, and it was and in the note I put like, "Hey man, these guys shred. It's a chick singer, but she's like her voice is killer."
Yeah,
and I figured out I sent it to the wrong guy. I immediately texted him. I'm like, dude, disregard that. He goes, I just put that on. That is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's what you get, the normies, like, you listen, the normies that listen to
They were like, wait, it's like, what's wrong?
And I'm not disparaging the normies. The
No, of course
normies
not.
are the normies. They're the people that we probably wish we liked.
We tend to be that like in our regular lives.
Yeah. But they would, if that's what's funny, like if they would listen to what we listen to, they go like, Spencer, like, is everything all right?
Dude,
are
do
you
you need
okay?
to talk to someone?
Like, can I get you in touch with somebody to speak to them?
But you know what's funny, and we talked about it earlier. Like yes, this music does that, right?
Yeah.
Like if people on the outside, I find it therapeutic.
Totally.
It's literally my medicine.
Yeah.
Like, and I think you and I are both. I mean, we're both just like. Well, I mean, you'll be 40 tomorrow, but like, I'm just a middle-aged white dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, you're not there yet. You're close though.
40 is middle-aged, right? Like, to be fair, what's the
Ish.
73, 78?
Yeah.
What's the life expectancy in the United States? I think it's 78.
I don't even want to know.
I don't want to know.
I'm closer to it than you.
I'm past it, bro.
But it's one of those things where it's like. To me, it's medicine.
Yeah.
Sitting here talking, I could literally. We've talked for.
I keep looking at the clock. No, please. I wish we
We've
didn't have
talked
to
for an
stop.
hour and 40 minutes, or an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We could probably do this till 5 p.m.
Totally.
And we would come up with an offshoot.
When I would literally be texting my wife, babe, I'm so sorry. I'm sitting with Jeff. I'm having a great time. Give me 2 more hours. Give me 2 more hours. That's all I ask for.
But it is. But it's just that's what like talking about it. Like, I'm in a good mood.
Dude, I'm having so much fun.
And it's hardcore music. Like, it's dark. There's dark topics. There's dark stuff.
The subject matter, I don't even want to get into the motifs itself.
Right.
So let's close it out
Yes.
in the interest of time and the fact that somebody's probably going to knock on the door and tell us to get out.
Yes.
If you're speaking to a normal person and you're telling him, like, why they should like metal, like, what would you say to that person?
Passion. I love the passion of metal.
Yeah.
I love that these guys that are screaming, these guys that are doing whatever, like, they're not faking it.
True.
Like you can mail in a bro country song. You know what I mean? Like, you can mail in a rap song. You could be like, I'm talking about, and you hear a lot of the guys now, like mumble rappers is literally a thing now. You don't hear a guy when it's 4 guys in a band with a guitar plugged in, a bass plugged in, a guy kicking the drum, and a singer who's got to be out there, and it's his voice. Passion. All day, every day.
Passion, the purity, because metal typically requires people to be virtuosos at each individual instrument, because there's industrial metal is a different genre.
Yeah.
It has some computer elements to it, but for the purest metal band, where it's like a bass, a guitarist, a drummer, and a singer.
4 dudes and let it rip.
4 dudes are at the peak of the ability at each end of those individual instrumentation. There's no hiding.
That's right.
There's no faking.
That's a great way of putting it.
And it is literally, like you said, it's like they believe in it, they love it, and they live it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm like.
And that's the other part of it. That's the other part we didn't talk about.
This shirt, and usually I have a blazer and a button-up white T-shirt, and a white button-up like dress shirt.
Yeah.
I'm usually a lot more polished.
Oh, me and you both.
But so I will dabble in this, but there's guys that live that life.
Yes.
And so I love it.
Yes.
I'm not going to live that
It ain't me.
It ain't me either.
It ain't me.
I
It's
want a wife
lifestyle
and a
choice.
family and like a normal life.
Yes,
Yeah.
I enjoy going back to my domesticated home and whatever,
Well,
right?
shout out to Phil, shout out
all
to
of 'em.
Randy, shout out to
Give it
Geddy
to 'em.
Lee, to Maynard, everybody that wants to live that life.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
for living that life.
Yes,
But,
because if you didn't, I wouldn't have the music I love.
Totally.
Yeah.
So all right, I would say this, Jeff. Completely
So much fun. We're doing this again.
I hope we
We
have.
are 100%
So
doing
just
this
like I
again.
told you before, and Joe Rogan has his Save Our Parks.
We
and
have
it's-
to
And he
find-
has his like MMA shows.
Yes.
Hopefully, Self Under with Spencer will have the metal show.
We are 100% doing this.
let's do this.
So much fun.